Hey everybody, welcome to the next Outdoors with Old Pops video, and today I was lucky enough to get to go fishing with my oldest son Hayden, which he guides here on Grand Lake and below the dam at Grand Lake in northeast Oklahoma. And I've got my wife with me today, and you know what, we're just gonna head out. We thought we were gonna have an easy day of fishing right below the Grand Lake Dam, and we got out there, and guess what, it was tough. It was hard for us to catch what we were after. Now, I don't know if you like all these tips from Old Pops along the way, but I will tell you one thing for sure. You do not ever want to back your boat into a fast river unless you know for sure it's going to start. So if you're in an area where you are getting ready to back your boat into a heavy current, folks, just hit that key one time to make sure it's going to start before somebody backs you out there. Otherwise it can turn bad really fast. Now that's my oldest son Hayden, who's like a monkey. He doesn't have any problem getting in and out of those boats. You guys remember what that used to be like. And he flops down there in the VMAG, and we are heading up the Grand River, and this is the generation side of the dam where they do the hydroelectric power. And Hayden had just had some guide trips up here, and we pulled up here and we really thought we were going to have a slam dunk, and it was anything but a slam dunk. I tell you what, the fishing was tough, and what was really crazy is right after we got started, you can see there in the back of the boat, Hayden caught 2 white bass on the first 2 casts on crappie kickers, and then it just kind of shut off. I missed a fish. But the fishing was really difficult. I didn't know if it had anything to do with the cold front or what was going on. Alright, after I saw him catch that white bass, I set the hook into something, and holy cow, did it bend my rod and pulled my string. And I tell you what, I didn't know what I had a hold of right there. I thought that I had a hold of a big old catfish or a hybrid. Wasn't sure. Now I was fishing with some crappie kickers, and that fish took off out of there, and all I'm using is that really light flea fly 6-foot ultralight rod and 6-pound micro braid. And you know, I got a lot of confidence in that micro braid. I've caught a lot of fish with it, but man, I'll tell you what, in that heavy current pulling on this big fish, that was quite a struggle. So stick with me here and see what I land. Well, now this is definitely not what we're after, but boy, oh boy, what a fight. So we're going to turn that big buffalo loose, and I told Hayden, I said, let's move the boat, get out of here. Because there's not any white bass or crappie in this little current break. So he fires up the boat, and we idled just up here to the other side of the current break, to the upper end of the eddy where we thought there might be some fish. And I put down the spot lock, and man, I tell you what, it was tough there too. Gosh, we got birds hitting the water, and I'm thinking, man, we made the right move. And wouldn't you know it, I get up here and I land right in the middle of a bunch of drum. We call them gaspergoos here in the South. A lot of people call them gaspergoos. Different parts of the country, there's all kinds of names for freshwater drum, but that's not what we're looking for. So anyway, we goofed off and caught a couple more of those, and then we had to make a move out of there. Well, we decided to make that move after we caught that last drum, and I headed on down the Grand River. I had a creek in mind that I wanted to get to, and I was hoping that there was not going to be any current in there. A lot of times in the winter when these fish are faced with cold current, they will move into the creeks or at the mouth of these creeks to get out of that current. And I headed downriver, hoping to find some fish up in the back of the creek. and we found fish, but the fishing was still tough. Bingo! There we go. Hayden set the hook on our first crappie up in this creek, and I was glad to see that fish come to the top. We had been pretty well mistreated out there, if you know what I mean. Hayden caught that crappie on a 2-inch lemon pie crappie kicker with a white big eye head, and I continued to switch colors up in there to see what was working the best, but he stuck with lemon pie and Buster Brown all day. So I think I've made probably 5 or 6 moves. I don't know how many plans I've put together to try to catch fish today, and I think our move did pay off. When we found a fish, they really gulped that crappie kicker, but it was hard to get them to bite. And a lot of times, guys, during cold front conditions and bright bluebird skies like this, like we have right now, a lot of times those fish want a bait to be downsized. They don't want to move very fast, and they're not very aggressive. So another thing that you need to look for a lot of times is the colors can make a huge difference on days when the fish are just not real active. You can see right there fish coming up and looking at the crappie kickers, and they would come up and nudge them, or I guess taste them. One of my friends says, hey, they come up there and they lick them to make sure that they like the flavor. Whatever they do, it's really frustrating to see them come up there and try to get a hold of that, or you think they're going to get a hold of it. Then next thing you know, they turn around and they go back in the brush. So if you look at this pile right here, you can see it's a log, and that log is laying on the edge of that bluff. And there's crappie under it, there's crappie over it, and Hayden and I are dropping in all around them, but they are not very friendly. Hey, my old buddy Cody Mullinex says you just got to keep digging, and that's what we did. And we kept going down this bluff right here, and we picked off some fish, but we found way more fish that were just not very active over on that side of the creek channel for whatever reason. And we got into some short fish, so we threw all those guys back. They got to be 10 inches to keep them here in northeast Oklahoma on the Grand River chain of lakes. I got an interesting clip for you. You can see me dropping down there on the left, and I'm trying to catch that crappie that I just scared off. And Hayden's over on the right, and he hooks up with that crappie. And you know that crazy fish, he gets him up to the top. You can just barely see him over there on the right-hand side. He gets that fish up there, and he's starting to unhook him. And that fish flops and goes back in the water. And would you look at that? Look at where that crappie goes. He goes right back down into the brush pile where he came from. But that didn't stop Hayden. He just kept on catching them. And we decided that we were going to try to move over into the sunny side of the river, because these fish over here, even though we were catching some, it just wasn't good. I kept trying to change colors, lures, and Hayden decided that he was just going to let me have it. He was done over there on that bluff, and he decided he was going to get into the deer sausage. So we made a move over to the sunny side of the river channel, found some brush over there, and man, what a difference. Now it was getting later in the day, so I think the fish were also starting to become a lot more active. And we went down to a smaller size, to 2-inch lures. I changed colors again, and I finally got satisfied with a black and chartreuse crappie kicker. And Hayden was using a Buster Brown, which is a brown pumpkin with a chartreuse bottom. And he was using the original flea fly head, the big eye head, with the 45-degree bait keeper, or hook outlet. And we really went to catching some fish. And we had a good time picking fish off of a few brush piles out there. And we ended up with about 15 or 18 fish. And you can see I'm holding up that black and chartreuse. And in that muddy water right there, It really seemed like that transition between a dark and a bright color, a dark and a bright color, were really what was making the difference, along with the size of the lure we were using. And I tell you what, after all of my moving around and after all of the things we had tried, I just knew we were going to have a slam dunk down there below the dam, and we weren't going to have to do all this to catch a mess of fish today. But just goes to show you, it's still fishing, it's not catching. And if you keep at it, keep going, a lot of times you go ahead and become successful before the end of the day. But you got to pay attention to all those patterns, and you got to pay attention to all those clues that the fish are giving you. And that's exactly what we did. We weren't afraid to move, and it paid off. So we ended up having a great day. I got to spend a wonderful day with my wife and my oldest son, and I really enjoyed that. You know, it's always a great time to spend time with your friends and family outdoors. And it was time for us to head back up the river, get up to the dam, and we fired up the Suzuki and the Charger VMAG. What a wonderful boat ride we had. Just beautiful day, beautiful scenery there on the Grand River as we travel back up to the truck. And I'm just going to let the music roll and kind of finish out the video here, guys. I tell you what, I sure hope that you like the videos that we're doing here at Outdoors with Old Pops. And I hope that you like us, comment on us, let us know what you want to see, and make sure to subscribe and share this stuff with your friends if you think that they would enjoy it too. And I want to thank you all for watching, and I want to wish you good luck out there.